Hi YouTube, it's Janelle here. In this video, I want to talk about exactly how much money you should keep in your checking account. So I'm going to go through it by talking about what I do with my checking account and give a couple different examples of ways that you can handle your situation. Before I jump into the video, I want to quickly remind everybody to subscribe below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, just go ahead and hit on that red subscribe button. I really appreciate you supporting the channel and following me along on my financial journey. I do also have a Patreon page linked below in the description box. If you can find it in your heart and in your budget to give $1 a month, that would really help me to continue to keep creating content for this channel. So go ahead and check that out below. So a lot of different people have asked me about this, and also just people in my family recently have said like, oh, I have all this money in my savings account, or my checkings account. What should I be doing with it? Where should I put it? Is this the right amount? Is this too much? So I want to start by saying that you definitely can put too much or too little in a checkings account, and I think that's obvious, right? Your checking account should be specifically for things that you're going to be doing every single day. So everyday transactions like groceries or toiletries, things that you're going to need to go buy, that you need to use right away. Transportation, if you refill like your subway pass or something like that, or if you use your card to put gas in your car. But you want to have the right amount of money in there so that every day as you go through swiping your card and doing these little transactions from your checking account, you're not gonna risk going into like overdraft fee or something like that, because you make the mistake of like buying groceries or charging something on your debit card before your check from your job actually cleared. So basically, in order to prevent that, what I do is I calculated my monthly income. I take the paycheck that I make every 2 weeks and multiply it by 2. So I get 2 checks in a month. That tells me exactly how much money I make in a month, which is my monthly income. And then I also have to calculate how much money am I spending each month. So what are my monthly expenses? And I'm not talking about, brunch or happy hours or shopping. I mean, monthly expenses that actually are 100% necessary for you to survive. So I'm talking about rent, food, major bills like electric, gas, heat, etc. And then maybe transportation if you need to get to and from work. Those pretty much should be like the only things that you're including in your monthly expenses. And then once you have those two amounts, you're going to know how much money you're bringing in every month and how much money is going out every month. And that's going to really help you. So what I do once I figured out those numbers, I make sure that my checking account always has exactly 1 month's worth of income in there. And the reason why I do that is because I want to have a little bit of a buffer. Kind of like how I said before, I don't want to ever be in the position where I go buy groceries and didn't, let my check clear in time. So in order for me to prevent that, I always have just a little bit of a buffer, meaning that no matter what I'm charging every single month from my checking account, I'll have enough in there. Once I, hit that amount in my checking account, everything else was going to my savings account. And I would say if you're the type of person who's very much like, you can trust yourself not to touch your money and you really are motivated to save. Like me, I used to be a lot more kind of like I used to not have a lot of self-control. Like I would go and buy things if I knew I had extra money or if I thought I had extra money and I wasn't really calculating how much I had. But now I'm definitely budgeting carefully and I watch my account every month and I have goals to save up as much as I can. So I'm not as much worried that I won't have the self-control. For that reason, what I did was I linked my savings and checking account in the same bank, and they're linked. So if I ever need to switch money between them, I can do that pretty quickly. But if you're the type of person who's not sure you can really trust yourself yet, and you don't really have a lot of self-control when it comes to your money, and you're working on that, then what I would say is you don't want to do that. You don't want to actually link it because that's going to make it easier for you to move the money between your two accounts. You want to actually force yourself to save. So you want to make it harder for yourself to be able to take money out of your savings account and put it in your checking. So what I would say for you is to actually use 2 separate banks. Maybe you have your checking account with Bank of America, but then you have your savings account with Chase or Citibank or something like that. But basically you want to do 2 separate banks so it's not linked and it's not easy. You actually make it tough for yourself because you have to take like 3 to 5 business days to transfer money between your accounts and stuff like that. Just make it as hard as possible for yourself until you really develop the motivation and the self-control that you need to be able to trust yourself with a linked account. Once you figure out which decision you want to make, what I would recommend is definitely having an emergency fund sitting in your savings account. You don't want to have all your money in a checking account because checking accounts don't make interest, right? They don't bring you any any return on your investment, right? They don't bring you back any interest to your account. So you're basically not making any money off of the money sitting there. So you only want to have 1 month's worth of income in there. And then if you're in the position where you have extra money, you want to create your emergency fund, which means that you're going to have a savings account that's going to have, I would say, an average of like 6 months rent saved up in there, or 6 months of expenses. So that would be, transportation, food, and rent, and major bills. And you would use that to put it in your savings account so that you can actually make money off of the interest that you're getting back as a return for using the savings account with the bank that you choose. Most banks right now probably offering, like, I don't know, less than 1%, maybe 1% maximum for a savings account. So it's not a lot of money that you can get back, but it's better than 0%, which is what you would be getting if all your money was sitting in a checking account. So I would say 6 months is probably the average. But if you are, very risk averse, like if you're scared of risk and you're not very risky, and you feel like you think you might lose your job, and you're going to be nervous that you might not be able to find another job, and you're always kind of freaking out about money, then what I would say is, instead of doing 6 months worth, you might want to do 9 months worth of expenses in a savings account. That way you have a lot of cushion, and you're not going to be anxious or freaking out if you lose your job, or if you have high expenses 1 month and you didn't expect that. So if you're the opposite of that, if you're like, oh no, I know that my job is super secure, I don't have to worry about that, I got a government job, or I'm tenured or something like that, like I don't have to worry about crazy emergency coming my way and not being able to have a check come in. If you're that kind of person where you're not risk averse at all, you're really confident about the money that you're bringing in every month, then I would say you could even get away with doing 3 months of expenses. So once you figured out if you are a 3-month person, a 6-month person, or a 9-month person, then you can kind of calculate what that would be by multiplying your monthly expenses by 3, 6, or 9. So then any money that you have after that, once you reached your goal for your emergency fund in your savings account, you don't want to just let it all sit there. It's the same concept as the checkings, right? The checking account. If you have all your money sitting in checking, you're not going to make as much off the return on your of your interest that you're getting back as you would if you put it in the savings account. And the same thing happens if you let too much money sit in your savings account, then you're not getting the most return that you could be getting off of the market, right? The stock market, bonds, funds, all that. So what you should do is hit your either 3, 6, or 9-month goal for your savings account in your rainy day fund, your emergency fund, which will be in your savings account. And then once you're done with that and you hit that goal, every penny that you make after that should be invested in an account that is either a Roth IRA, which is the one that I always recommend, or a general taxable account, with any brokerage firm or robo-advisor online. I use Betterment. I also use Wealthfront. I like them both. But I definitely think that a lot of people should be considering exactly, what makes sense for them. If you like a lot of data, if you like a lot of hands-on control, if you really don't care and you just want somebody else to pick where your money gets invested, all of those things are things you should think about when you decide where to invest your money, like which company to go to invest with. So, yeah, that's pretty much the plan that I use, and I always recommend that people work their way up to it. Like, obviously I didn't go from one day to the next having all this money in different accounts, but I started setting the goal for myself. First, I want to have 1 month's income in my checking. When I get that, then I'm going to go onto the savings account. I'm going to set my goal for my emergency fund. Once I hit that, every penny after that goes here. So it took me like a year or two to really get the plan in place, but now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, my account is always has this much in it, my checking, and then my savings account pretty much always has exactly the same number, right? And then everything else is pretty much going into investment accounts, which are growing way more than the 1% my savings account is getting, right? So I think last week my Betterment account even hit like 20% return. That is so much better than a 1% return at a savings account or a 0% return in a checkings account. So either way, no matter what you decide to do, just know that you should have something for an emergency, something for everyday use, and then the rest should be invested. In my experience, a lot of people, like in my family or like in my friend circles growing up, they're afraid to invest. They don't really understand investing, and so they just stay away from it, and they just keep all their money, their whole life savings in a savings account. And I've recently learned that's not the best thing to do. That doesn't make sense. And Like, you know, my parents, because they immigrated here, they didn't necessarily feel great about like the banking system. They didn't feel confident opening a bank account and knowing exactly what to do and how it all works. So, you know, I kind of had to figure that out myself with my siblings and some of my friends and like at school and stuff. But there's so much technology available now that was not available when I was younger, that makes it so easy. You know, you can literally Google it, you can look it up on YouTube, you can watch a bunch of different people explain how it works. And you can even call the companies up directly and ask them, hey, explain this to me. How does it work? What if I put this much? What if I put that much? And what if this is my goal? What should I do? There's so many ways to get help and to really get a good understanding of what you're doing with your money before you make a big move, that I just feel like it's so much easier now than it has ever been before. And there's really just no excuse for you to have your money. If you do have extra money and you have, you know, if you are blessed enough to have just like extra money, then you shouldn't just leave it sitting in a checking account, and you should start to really think about how you can make it grow as much as possible, how you could get the most back from it, rather than just doing what a lot of people do and just let it sit there over time and not grow. Because that's just like, it just doesn't make sense. It's not the best thing for you. It's not the best thing for your money. It's not what the successful people who are making a lot of money and becoming wealthy and passing that down to their next generation, that's not what they're doing either. They're investing. So people like me, people like everyday people, need to start learning how to do that as well, so that we can have access to, you know, similar growth for our money, and just kind of, yeah, get the resources that are available out there. There's no reason why we shouldn't chase after those resources as well, because there's nothing stopping us from being able to allow our money to grow that way. I'm going to go ahead and put a link down below in the description box to an article that also is really helpful in getting people started with investing. And so if you're interested, check that out below. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys in this video. If you have any questions or comments, or if you want to share what you do with your checking and savings and investment accounts, just put the comment down below. And if you want to ask me anything that I didn't get to talk about or that you're still confused about, you can email me privately at missbehelpful@gmail.com. Till next time, peace.